How to care for your photography gear. This is what I do. Hi, and a very warm welcome to episode 167 of the Photography Explained podcast. I'm your host Rick, and in each episode I will try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish without the irrelevant details. I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience which I share with you in my podcast. Right, first here is the answery bit. My camera gear is very important, so I take great care of it. I keep my gear clean, safely stored and always ready to go. I have a simple cleaning and maintenance regime using a small number of commonly available products. Digital cameras and their lenses are wonderful things, but they are expensive and very breakable if you don't look after them. This is how I care for my photography gear, so listen on and hopefully you will learn something that will help you take care of your gear and keep it in good working order. Right, before I go on, I need to explain the change of title, because if you listen to episode 66, you were expecting something else. I need to get this out of the way. So last episode, I said that the next episode, as in this episode, will be titled, How many of the 21 photography things that I use can you use when taking photos with a phone? Well, I had a word with myself and I've stopped this nonsense. Now I'm back to what I was planning to publish next before I had this harebrained idea to do that episode. I will return to this subject as there is a follow-up, but not with that awful title, which would have formed an illogical basis for a bad episode. I had a bad feeling about this one, so I've done the right thing and got rid of it. Okay, I've got that out of the way. Now let's get back to looking after our gear. Oh, how I look after my gear. The starting point, where does my camera gear live? Well, it lives in camera bags and plastic boxes in a wardrobe in my home office. I've got a Lowepro Magnum bag that my Canon 6D and accessories live in, and they're always sat there ready to go. I have a Peak Design everyday backpack with my Olympus gear, and that's ready to go. And I have a Lowepro, it says X bag here because I can't remember the name of it. And it's the one where the camera bit is on the back of the backpack so you can't see it or get to it. It's a dead clever thing. Actually, give me a sec. I'll get the bag. Right, I went and found the bag. It's a Lowepro Photo Hatchback 22LAW. Sounds more like a car, doesn't it? And all the other stuff is organised into plastic storage boxes. So that's where everything lives, inside safe, clean, dry, proper storage, protected from direct sunlight. I will go through the main bits of kit and tell you how I look after them one by one. But first, here is the cleaning gear that I use. Just so we're clear, I am not being paid to name these products. These are all products that I have bought with my own money that I use myself. That's as of the time of this recording. No, I'm not being paid to say these things. You never know. I live in hope, don't I? Okay, so PEC pads, they're the cleaning cloths that I use. Eclipse, easy for you to say, Rick. Eclipse Lens Cleaning Solution. That's the solution that I use. A hurricane blower, also a rocket blower. Used to be brush blowers. Now we don't have the brushy bit because we don't want it anymore. And plain old household microfiber cloths. And that's my cleaning gear. Doesn't cost a lot. It's all standard stuff that you can buy anywhere. And that's all I have pretty much. Okay then, that was the cleaning gear. Now for the gear itself. Well, we'll start of course with the Canon 6D. Now the Canon 6D, it lives in a bag. It lives in the Lowepro bag that I mentioned before, the Lowepro Magnum. And it's sat there with the 17 to 40mm lens attached. It's face down with the lens surrounded by the internal padding that comes with the bag and the specially shaped bits. Which means that my camera and my lens are immersed in soft, firm, protective padding, which is what you want. But I can also quickly grab the camera body when I need it. And I leave a battery in the camera body as I'm always using it, but if I wasn't going to be using the camera for a long period of time, I'll take the battery out. I've never had a problem with keeping a battery in a camera, but I don't want to risk it. So if it's more than a couple of weeks without me using the camera, I will take the battery out just to be safe. Now, the sensor, I don't clean it. I did do once and I had a few problems with it, and ever since then I've been scared to. So All I do is I use the hurricane blower just to blow any loose debris out of the chamber where the sensor sits, and also the lens mount, which is the bit where the lens attaches to the camera body, and I also give it a quick blow around the viewfinder to get rid of any loose bits, and also any dials or things that turn or move or buttons. And I clean the viewfinder and the LCD screen with the same stuff I use to clean the lenses. Well, why not? I don't need anything different for that, do I? No, you don't, Rick. And the Canon 6D, it's got a built-in sensor cleaning function which I use. It's actually set so it comes on every time I turn the camera off. And all these things between them, they do for me. Oh yeah, sorry, I clean the camera body with a microfiber cloth. And that's it. When I get back from my shoots, I'll clean the camera body, as I've said, and I'll place everything in the bag ready for next time. And on a completely unrelated subject, I just wanted to mention that I use a wrist strap. I use a wrist strap to carry my Canon 6D. I don't use a conventional camera strap. You know, the ones that go around your neck. A wrist strap, it works for me. Because of the Canon 6D, it's so well designed that I put my hand through the wrist strap and then I can grip the grip with my right hand, and that's me. I can walk around my camera for hours on end and I don't have a problem. Next thing is the Canon 17 to 40mm lens. Well, this lens, it lives on the Canon 6D body. And again, if I was not to use the camera for long periods of time, I'd take the lens off the camera body and I'd put a rear lens cap on it. And a body cap on the camera body as well, obviously. So the lens sort of lives on the Canon 6D, but I've always got the front lens cap on. And I've always got the lens hood on as well. You can reverse them so they're not sticking up and getting in the way, but they give further protection to the lens body, which is dead handy. So this is how I clean the lens. I remove the front lens cap and I gently blow away dust using the hurricane blower. I apply a few drops of the cleaning solution to a cleaning cloth, the back pad. I gently, and gently is important here, I gently clean the lens element, making sure to clean but not damage that very important lens coating. And then I replace the lens cap. And then with the rear lens element, I do exactly the same thing, but with a new cloth. And I only ever have one lens cap off at once. And that's, I am that sad that I do this all the time. And then what I do is I use the cloths I've used to clean the front and rear lens elements. I use those to clean the LCD screen on the camera and the viewfinder of my camera body. And then I might branch out a bit and clean my glasses, my phone, well, anything that needs cleaning really. But I only ever use a clean, unused cloth for the front lens element and another one for the rear lens element. They're the really important bits that need looking after. After every shoot, I'll clean my camera and lenses and then I'll put them back together again and test them, ensuring they are ready to go. As I said before, I use the lens hood to protect the front lens element. It's very important that you look after the front element of your lens. This is the bit that's exposed to the world. Yes, you need to look after the front of your lens. And I said this in the last episode, I do not use any kind of protective filter. Now in the past I've used UV filters, protector filters, all sorts of things, but for many, many years now, I have just used the lens hood that comes with the lens. And for me, that provides all the protection that I need, and this has helped me over many, many years. I need to repeat here, I'm not saying to you, you do not need to use protector filters, because I don't know how careful you are, how you work and all that good stuff, but I don't need them and I've never had a problem. Okay, my other Canon lenses, well, I don't use them that often, and these are the 70 to 200 f4L-IS and the walk-around 24 to 105 f4L lens. So I don't use them often, but I do check them occasionally to make sure everything's working. And I clean them after I've used them, just like with my 17 to 40mm lens. But only after use, like I say, with periodic checks to make sure that they're working. So they're cleaned and stored safely and ready to be used whenever I want them. Okay, I have another camera system. It's the Olympus EM5 with its own other set of lenses. These are all stored securely in a completely separate bag, and I look after them in exactly the same way, giving them the same care and attention. So I don't need to repeat myself. I do exactly what I did for my Canon 6D and Canon lenses, because let's not forget, bodies and camera lenses, they are pretty much the same when it comes to cleaning. Okay, my 3 bags. I'm down to 3 bags. I've had many camera bags in the past, but I've got 3 bags with different specific uses. The 2 backpacks have a similar function, which is to allow me to get around construction sites hands-free. I keep all my Canon gear in the largish bag with a shoulder strap. I don't know why I said in a largish bag with a shoulder strap, because it's the Lowepro Magnum. And the Olympus gear lives in one of the backpacks, leaving the other backpack for when I need it. Now, I've never found the perfect camera bag. Each of my bags is a good camera bag in its own way, with its own uses at specific times. And a quick tip here, I have silica gel packs in all the bags which help to absorb moisture. Thinking about it, I don't know how long they last for. What's the lifetime of a silica gel bag? I need to look into that, don't I? My tripods. Well, my tripods simply live in tripod bags with shoulder straps, and they're sat in my home office in a cupboard. I wipe down the tripods with a microfiber cloth and I blow debris from the moving parts. I check the legs are all tight and the quick releases work okay. I check the moving parts of the tripod, again blowing debris away from the moving parts. And I ensure that the feet are clean. I just use normal household wipes for this. And I keep a packet of these in a camera bag in case they're needed in a shoot, because ordinarily I'll do external photos first and then I'll go inside. So, yep, those feet can get dirty. I've only ever had very positive comments from people when I've been photographing houses. Before I go in the house, I get a pack of wipes out and I wipe the feet on my tripod legs. People really notice that, and I think they're a bit surprised by it, but why wouldn't you? Finally, I reset the tripod head so it's level and good to go the next time I use it. So basically, everything's ready, and assuming that I'm putting my tripod on level ground, the head is level, so I can pretty much start straight away. Memory cards. Well, this is a very specific one. This is what I do starting with after a shoot. So after a shoot, I put the memory card in a hard waterproof case with a red trim. Yes, this is that detailed. When I return to my office, I import the photos into Lightroom, simultaneously creating a duplicate backup set on import. I then place the memory card in a soft case which goes in my desk drawer. Once a month, a backup is made of all my photos, including the new ones. Now, this is on an external hard drive which is stored somewhere else. And only once I've done that, when I've got my third set of photos, I'll explain the rest in a minute, only then do I take these used cards and format them, and then I place them in a hard waterproof case with a yellow trim, and that goes in my camera bag, and that's ready to go. So I mentioned 3 sets of photos there. This episode isn't about backing up, but I'll just explain quickly. So I've got the photos on my hard drive on my computer in the Lightroom catalogue. I make a second copy on the external hard drive which I store off-site, which I do once a month. And there is an online backup which backs up everything on my computer live on an ongoing basis. So my stuff is always in 3 places, and that's my backup strategy basically. So if my computer completely falls over, I have everything in 2 other places. Okay, that's possibly one for another episode because it's quite important. And while it might sound quite sad and painful what I do with the memory cards are very important because they're the things that you store the photos on, so why wouldn't you look after them properly? And for the record, I have never had a card failure, touching wood. My head. Batteries. It's not exciting, this, is it? But it is quite important. My batteries are numbered 1 to 4. Yeah, I've got 4 batteries for my Canon 6D. I charged them all and put number 1 in my camera in the battery compartment. I didn't need to say battery compartment, did I? Where else would I put it? And that's the... I put the battery in the battery compartment. Well, yeah, where else would I put it? Shut up, Rick. And that's the battery I use on a shoot. And the other batteries are stored in separate compartments in my camera bag. When I return home, I will take out battery 1 and put battery 2 in my camera. I'll charge battery 1 and put it in the spare slot in my camera bag. And you can probably guess what happens next time. Yep, battery 3, then battery 4. Yep, I really do all this stuff, but it costs nothing apart from a little bit of time. I've never broken anything. Well, I'll come on to that. And then there's all the other stuff. All I do with the other stuff is make sure it's clean and working. There isn't much else to do, honestly. Why did I say honestly? I should delete honestly, but hey ho. Now, the time's taken with the main bits, which is the camera body, the lens and the tripod, and that's how it should be. Right, what's packed in my bag ready to go is this. Canon 6D, 17-40, 70-200 and 24-105 lens. I take all three lenses in case one fails. I've always got some kind of backup, haven't I? Now, I know I haven't got 17mm backup with the 24, but I can get through. Manfrotto Magic Arm, L bracket for my camera. A loop viewer, memory cards, batteries, charger, cleaning stuff, grey card, torch, Leatherman, general purpose wipes, and slippers or overshoes. Yeah, have you ever photographed a house which hasn't got any heating on with a tiled floor in bare feet or socked feet? It's cold, so get some overshoes for your shoes or just take a pair of slippers and put them on. Makes a big difference. Well, it does to me anyway, because I do suffer with my feet getting cold. But that's all the gear. That's all I take, and my tripod's in a separate bag with a shoulder strap, so I'm good to go. And I also have the other bag with the full set of Olympus gear ready just in case. So if my Canon gear all fails at once, I've got a backup, a completely separate system, and I'm good to go. And like I say, it's not the same as the Canon system, but I can get by, so I'm covered. Some more important things to think about. Drinks and snacks. Well, I never put drinks in my camera bag. They go in a separate bag which stays in the car. And then there's the bag switch. When I get to a shoot, I put the Canon 6D, 17-40mm lens, the loop viewer, the L bracket, the grey card, the wipes and the shoes into the small backpack, and off I go. And that's what I do on most shoots. I leave the rest of the gear in the car. Oh, sorry, yeah, my tripod. That's in a separate bag on a shoulder strap. So I'm good to go. And that's what I use for 95% of my shoots. If I'm going to use the Magic Arm, I'll chuck it in the top of the bag. But I've got the gear that I need in a backpack, which is important to me because if I'm on a construction site, I can get around it. And if I'm not on a construction site, I'm not faffing around. I've got a backpack, which by the time I've started taking photos is virtually empty anyway. That's the gear bit. Here's the talky bit. Photography equipment is expensive and very breakable. There's no doubt about that. Look after your expensive camera gear and it will repay you repeatedly. I was going to say it'll look after your back, but it won't, I'm afraid. If you don't look after your gear, some of it will fail, your photos might not be as sharp, and you'll be spending money repairing or replacing stuff. And let's think about it. How you look after your photography equipment, it's common sense really, isn't it? That's all it is. And it doesn't matter if you're an amateur photographer or a professional photographer. Your gear and my gear, they need looking after. And the good news is it's common sense and it's not that difficult either. No, just being an amateur photographer, it's no excuse these days with the information and equipment available to all of us, so no reason to not look after your gear. And I might be more careful than most, but I'm happy with that. I'm careful with my gear. I'm actually very, very careful. Apart from one time. I once dropped my Canon 6D and I couldn't have really dropped it in a worse place. It was on a very hard stone floor in Corfe Castle, down here in lovely Dorset. I had to get the camera sent away for repair, so I was without my camera for far too long than was comfortable for me. And it cost me money as well, even with insurance. Talking of which, you need to check your insurance policies and see what cover you have. So you might have cover on your general household insurance, but it's good to know just in case. So yeah, I had to send my camera off. I actually dropped the camera, then I carried on using it, and what had happened is that the photos weren't, they were at a slight angle. I'm not sure what I did to the camera. It looks like the sensor had been rotated through a few degrees, so it was quite strange, but thankfully, happily repaired at a professional repair shop. Digressing here, this isn't on the script. I will only use an accredited repair company. I won't tell you the name because it sounds like I'm being a salesman too much, but they're a well-known established one, so be careful where you get gear repaired. Make sure they're reputable. And make sure you look after your gear. Don't drop your camera on a hard surface like mine because it's never going to end well, is it? Okay, a few other things I want to talk about. My 3 bags. Well, why have I got 3 bags? This has evolved over time for me. The 3 bags, they work for me for what I do. But I've never found a bag that suits every occasion, never. Which I'm fine with, it's okay. I've had loads of bags over the years, but I'm more than happy with these 3. Now, I don't care what the bag looks like. All I care about is that they protect my gear, they make my gear readily accessible, and they leave my hands free when needed. I actually use the one of the backpacks as my hand luggage when I go on holiday. I put my Micro Four Thirds gear in the bottom of the bag, leaving the top half for, those inevitable airport purchases like a book you don't want, a bag of sweets you're never going to eat, and some other stuff you buy in desperation because the country you're going to might not sell it, even though that's the point of going to a different country, isn't it? I'm one of those people, by the way, so I'm only criticising myself. Okay, GPS. Well, this is a quirk with the Canon 6D. You see, it's got a built-in GPS, which I love having, and it's great to have it on such an older camera too, but there's something I have to remember. I have to remember to turn it on before I start taking photos, and then I have to turn it off again when I'm done, because it drains the battery even with the camera turned off, and no, I've not found a fix for this other than turning it off, which isn't that difficult really. I just need to remember. Sensor cleaning. Well, I mentioned this earlier, didn't I? I don't clean the camera sensor, but I'm in the fortunate position that I rarely change lenses, which helps me, so I don't need to as much as other people. If you're changing lenses all the time, especially if you're out and about, you're going to get stuff on the back of the lens and in the chamber where the sensor is, and you're going to need to get it clean because this stuff, it hangs around once it gets in there. But I'm quite fortunate that I don't change lenses often, so it helps me. What I do is I check in Lightroom for dust spots, which are mainly visible in the sky and on blank painted walls, and this is why I go into Photoshop, to remove bad stuff. I don't use Photoshop for anything else anymore, not that I ever did before. But it only takes me seconds, and I just go through each photo. And I can also remove any builder's blemishes or things that they've missed, which helps make the photos look a little bit better. I'm not removing things that shouldn't be removed. I'm removing things that somebody else should have dealt with, so I'm fine with that. So I get the sensor cleaned from time to time, but I pay someone reputable to do this. Yeah, I'm scared of getting this wrong. Even after all these years of photography, I am still scared of damaging my sensor. I did... I had a bad experience once, so I'm not doing that again. Now, removing dust particles from the sensor and sensor chamber is enough for me. Memory cards. I really do what I've told you. I had trouble saying that. That was my 4th attempt at saying, I really do what I have told you. And I don't know why that was so difficult, but that one really threw me. But what I haven't told you is this, that I replace the cards every couple of years as well, and touch wood, I've never had a memory card failure. Resetting everything ready for use. Now, on my script, there's nothing after that, so I'm going to have to make this one up. I revert all the camera settings back to the default camera settings that I would use at the start of a shoot. So that's like AV mode, f8, exposure bracketing at 2 stops, self-timer, all that good stuff, and the tripod head is leveled. Everything's set, so I'm ready to go. So when I arrive at a shoot, I quite literally put my camera on the tripod and I'm good to go. It helps me and it makes me feel better, and it's good practice, isn't it? And the last... bad weather. Bad weather. Something else I forgot. Now, I live in the UK, so the weather here is often rubbish. Good news is I tend to only take photos in good weather because, well, who wants photos of the shiny new building in the rain? No one is the answer. But that causes me another problem of trying to get photos when it's not raining. And it's getting more unpredictable these days, of course. So this is a challenge to us here in the UK, but there's simple things that we can do to get over it when we're taking photos in the rain. What I use is a rain cover to protect my camera, and I use a soft cloth to wipe it down if it gets wet. Yeah, those good old microfiber cloths, they come into play again. And the lens hood, it protects the front element from rain, and with a bit of thought, you can minimise, if not eliminate, rain on the front lens element, which can be a pain. And you can also use an umbrella. Just have a conventional umbrella, because I'm taking photos with my camera on the tripod. I'm not stood there holding it, so I can just have a normal umbrella in my hand and take photos, and it works fine. I did have an attachment which is an umbrella holder, but I didn't know it was for a lighting umbrella. I thought it was for an umbrella-y thing that stops you getting wet. The one last point, I reset everything. That's the bit that I forgot. I didn't forget to write it. I forgot to take out that reference. So we'll just go over that again because it's quite good. Yeah, I reset everything so I'm always ready to go. This is all the camera settings, the tripod head, everything. So I know I'm always ready when I pick up my bag. This means I've never had a last-minute flap having to find or clean something, and I always arrive for a shoot fully prepared. And that makes a massive difference if you know when you get to somewhere that you're good to go because you haven't got any last-minute flapping to do. It's dead helpful. Okay, moving on. What if I use my phone to take photos and not a camera? Well, nice and easy this episode, isn't it? You've got a phone. What do you do with it? I clean the camera lens every now and then, and once on a blue moon I'll take off the protective case and give it a good old clean, but that's it really, that's all I do. And I've had my iPhone XS for 5 years now, which is pretty impressive considering how little I look after it. Been a good servant to me, that phone, it really has. What if I use a film camera? Well, all of the above applies. Well, apart from you haven't got the sensor to worry about, but what you do have is a film chamber that you need to keep as dust-free as possible as well, because if you get dust and grit and stuff in there and you're dragging the film over it, you're going to scratch the film and that's going to kill your photos. So you need to take equal care with the film camera is what I'm trying to say. And the lenses, of course, and anything else that you're using. What do I do? Well, told you that, haven't I? So I'll move on. Some thoughts from the last episode. How nice. Episode 166, how I use this complicated photography stuff to take photos. Well, the 21 things needed to be completed. I know that, but the point was, and this is the important point really, that each of these things contribute to every photo I take. That was the point I wanted to get over. And I'm in control of how each of these things contribute to every photo that I'm taking. And that's how I want it to be. That's how I need it to be. And we'll forget about what this episode title was going to be, okay? I'll move on. Next episode. I'm going to cover some terms that don't make sense anymore. I mean, I love doing stuff like this. Photography's evolved over the years, but there are lots of terms we still use today that they're not relevant anymore. Let me give you one example. Mirrorless camera. Now, if you're getting into photography now, and you go to a shop and say, I want to see what cameras you got, and the person in the shop, not their fault by the way, said, well, would you like a mirrorless camera? What's your first thought going to be? Why would a camera have a mirror? It's that kind of thing that I'm going to do. And on this script, I say I'm going to do 5, 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many photographer terms that don't make sense anymore. And I've started writing it, and I'm up to 29 now. So that's going to be more than one episode, which I'm really looking forward to. I love doing that kind of stuff so much. Okay, ask me a question. If you have a question you would like me to answer, the best way is just to head over to the podcast website, photographyexplainedpodcast.com/start, where you can find out what to do. And feel free just to say hi if you want. It would be lovely to hear from you, whatever you want to say. Okay, I'm done. This episode was brought to you by a cheese sandwich with no crisps washed down with water before I settled down in my homemade acoustic cushion recording emporium. Yes, I'm recording this on a Monday, and Monday tends to be healthy day. I'm meant to be starting a healthy part of my life now, so we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know how I get on when I record the next one. But Monday's been good so far. Okay, I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast, it says here, and for giving me 27-ish minutes of your valuable time. Well, I reckon this episode will be about, 29, 30 minutes after I've edited out the mistakes and other bad stuff. We'll find out. Take care and stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick. That's 40 minutes recording. What's going on?